Hey guys, welcome back to another fun-filled episode of Twin Flicks, where we're here celebrating the magic of movies and physical media with you. So today we are taking a look at Kino Lorber's 4K UHD presentation of Dante's Peak from 1996. Now Universal did release Dante's Peak on Blu-ray in 2011, and then later they reissued the Blu-ray with this double disc set with Daylight. Now I have not heard if Daylight is still coming to 4K or if it's been pulled indefinitely by Kino Lorber. Hopefully we will hear something sooner this year. But concerning Dante's Peak on Blu-ray, this was always a decent looking Blu-ray. I really didn't have any issues with it. Well, now in 2026, Kino Lorber has unleashed Dante's Peak onto the masses, giving the film the royal 4K treatment with a new 4K scan from the original 35mm negative, forming a 4K DI with HDR10 and Dolby Vision grading. And there is a problematic issue with the Dolby Vision that I'll get into in just a second. It also preserves its intended theatrical ratio of 2:3:9:1, and the restoration was completed by Universal Pictures and approved by director Roger Donaldson. Now this release also includes a newly restored remixed Dolby Atmos mix, and also it includes a remastered Blu-ray sourced from the same 4K scan. But now I have to give attention to a concern with this 4K UHD release. And this pertains to the Dolby Vision grading on the UHD disc that is problematic. I noticed that when Dolby Vision is activated, the video looks really overly bright, even overly exposed, I would say. Yet when I deactivate Dolby Vision and watch it in HDR, it looks perfectly fine. It looks how it should. Now I can't show you shots of the Dolby Vision on YouTube because YouTube cannot decode Dolby Vision, but I can show you this, and this is information or stats of the Dolby Vision grading. And as you can see, Dante's Peak has a luminance at 4,000 nits. And just to compare this with another Kino Lorber 4K UHD title, and that is with Babe. And look at the differences with the Dolby Vision. It's 1,000 nits. And the same goes with Arrow's 4K of Excalibur. It's also at 1,000 nits. Now, full disclosure here. Honestly, I don't know all the ins and outs of Dolby Vision, but I do know that when it's that high, it's definitely not in the norm. But now, because the Dolby Vision is problematic on this UHD disc, I'm going to only review the HDR grading and not the Dolby Vision grading. Alright guys, so let's dive in and take a closer look at Dante's Peak on 4K UHD from Kino Lorber against Universal's 2011 Blu-ray, and let's see if this 4K is really worth the upgrade. Dante's Peak 4K restoration is a significant upgrade from the 2011 Blu-ray, where the 2011 Blu-ray had very muted and murky colors and also a slight magenta hue I noticed over the image when I compared it to the 4K. And this is particularly noticeable within white levels, but it does affect the entire color palette. The magenta hue is now gone thanks to the 4K scan, bringing the color palette back to its intended colors and as close as possible to its theatrical presentation, where colors really flourish now. On the UHD disc with the HDR10 grading has a wider color gamut, giving extra pop and vividness and extra depth and nuances. One of the biggest highlights here is just the lusher, fuller looking greens, especially with the trees, and the warm earthy tones that now looks much more lifelike. But I think one of the biggest improvements here is definitely with the oranges and reds from the volcano exploding. From the lava pouring out into the streets, it's a night and day difference here against the 2011 Blu-ray. I mean, you can see the impact for yourself between these two frames. The lava is much deeper, richer, more vibrant, including more detail. I mean, you can feel the heat coming off the screen, along with explosions that light up. And all this has a very pleasing specular punch to it. The falling and blankets of ash now look grayer, while the 2011 Blu-ray, the ash looked slightly more white. The entire color palette is just outstanding here on this 4K, while still looking natural and staying faithful to the filmmaker's vision. I mean, it's just gorgeous to look at. And even more so with the HDR10 grading. Saturation levels also benefit without looking artificially applied and overtly hot. The saturation illuminates a really nice pleasant warmth across the image now, and also helps in rendering skin tones accurately that now look naturally warm, unlike the 2011 Blu-ray where skin tones look more on the palish side. And the saturation also helps with lava and fire that illuminates, that gives off a much better range of heat that now looks more tangible. The contrast here has been given considerable care and attention to, and has a perfect balance between light and dark without either element competing for screen space. And what this has done is it draws out better color timing and light levels now, which becomes even more relevant during the volcano eruptions, with the dark smoke clouds and ash that blankets the town. This really just gives much more dimensionality and realism, preserving the film's original intent while elevating darker effects sequences that previously looked washed out on a 2011 Blu-ray. This 4K scan has very striking and bold black levels that are on full display, finally avoiding the crushed shadows and washed out darkness of the 2011 Blu-ray. On the UHD disc with the HDR10 grading, it naturally pushes the black levels even further by deepening its darkness, manifesting inky, truer looking blacks and illuminating deeper shadows. The improved use of black levels and shadow detail is significantly better, where you can now make out environmental textures and background action even in the darkest areas of the screen, that gives off a much truer cinematic experience. Right from the start of the film, you can easily tell this is an immediate upgrade with the 4K resolution, with higher levels of detail, clarity, and tangibility. The higher resolution pulls an impressive amount of texture out of the original camera negative that really stuns, furnishing finer lines and elevating the film with the absolute clearest and sharpest imagery possible, without the use of any AI sharpening tools or artificial smoothing applied. And this approach avoids the overly processed, smooth-out look of the 2011 Blu-ray, resulting in a pristine yet authentic presentation that honors the 35mm origins. The 4K scan also does a tremendous job of cleaning the image, while still retaining all the natural qualities baked into the original negative from the production, preserving the film's texture beautifully, including softer shots with close-ups, optical composites, and transitions. Now, I did notice some minor print damage here and there throughout the film, but this just preserves the film's organic negative look without aggressive digital cleanup. Another highlight here of the 4K scan is the image stability. There is no longer any noticeable jitter or wobble that hurt the 2011 Blu-ray. The 4K has enhanced depth and dimensionality that makes the Pacific Northwest landscapes feel more tangible. And especially with all the model work, from the town, the bridge, cars, explosions, there's a lake that overflows that is littered with ash and tree limbs that now all comes alive with razor-sharp clarity. Now, the 2011 Blu-ray had heavy amounts of DNR scrubbing, creating a waxiness to skin texture, especially with close-ups, but it also affected the entire look of the film with an overly smoothed out or processed look to it. The 4K scan faithfully retains the film grain from the negative with no DNR or artificial smoothing used. The grain field respects the film negative, giving a very pleasing, natural 35mm appearance. And I also wanted to point out too that you still get the same improvements and benefits of the 4K scan even on a smaller end screen. I have a 50-inch TV and it looks just as good as it does on my 84-inch screen. Alright guys, now let's dive into the audio presentation of this 4K of Dante's Peak. And Dante's Peak includes 3 different audio tracks. We have a DTS stereo mix, a DTS 5.1 mix, which is the same as on the 2011 Blu-ray, and a newly remixed Dolby Atmos track that is derived from the original audio elements from the negative. The Dolby Atmos mix delivers an aggressive yet also restrained mix and does its job aiming to only expand on the original elements rather than trying to reinvent them. The surround effects are much more enveloping, putting you straight in the middle of the action, producing outstanding low-end frequency response with deep rumbles, while also the amount of bass never sounds overwhelming. The surround effect smoothly glides from each channel with directional precision, utilizing the film's audio origins from the flowing lava beds to the ash clouds blanking in the sky, and of course the volcanic eruptions, sending flying debris in every direction, giving an incredible sense of immersion now. And then when you throw in the high channels, you are completely immersed. From the crackle of the lava flowing to hundreds of pieces of debris flying in every direction, hitting each discrete channel, you can now truly sense the scale of the action on your screen. Dialogue remains clean and clear and fixed in the center with the rare occasion of some off-screen dialogue, and you don't necessarily need a Dolby Atmos receiver or soundboard to enjoy this Atmos track. You can still get the same great benefits of the Atmos mix even if you don't have all the bells and whistles of a complete Atmos setup. Guys, Kino Lorber continues to hit it out of the park with all their 4K titles, and Dante's Peak is absolutely no exception, with significant improvements in video and audio quality that makes this 4K an immediate upgrade. But now head over to the comment section and let me know, when you look at the differences here between the two formats, Universal's 2011 Blu-ray against Kino Lorber's 4K UHD presentation, which do you think looks better? Or do you see much difference at all? Again, head over to the comment section and let me know. As always, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me for a few minutes here as we dive into Dante's Peak on 4K and comparing it to Universal's 2011 Blu-ray. As always, keep physical media alive and stay tuned for more 4K versus Blu-ray comparisons.
Twin Flicks presents 4K versus